Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's press event with End Gun Violence Michigan. I'm going to hand things over to Father Chris Yaw from St. David's of Southfield, who's going to be moderating today's event. Please take it away, Reverend Chris.
Ryan, thank you so much, our very able director, and welcome everybody to our news conference this morning. As Ryan mentioned, I'm the Reverend Chris Yaw. I'm the rector of St. David's here in Southfield, and we care because of the news we heard over the weekend. I'd like to begin with a moment of silence for that shooting in Lansing on Saturday. 7 people shot, 1 person dead. Still on the lookout for who did this, and of course all the questions. So I'd ask that we begin with just a moment of silence before we begin our news event. We take this moment to remember and to center on the seriousness of this issue in our community, in our state, in our country. We're here today to announce a really impressive schedule of events for Silence the Violence 2024, our month of action. Silence the Violence started at Church of the Messiah in Detroit, East Side, 17 years ago. Pastor Barry Randolph, who's with us here today, asked our coalition, End Gun Violence Michigan, to take this message of peace and hope and awareness statewide. And I have to say that our members have certainly delivered. We're here today to announce 30 events in 24 locations with all kinds of incredible, powerful, and creative actions. We're all standing up against gun violence in our communities in our own ways. It's very contextual in Detroit, in Grand Haven, in Oxford, in Flint, in Inkster. There are marches, there are teach-ins, there are trainings in Ypsilanti, Niles, Grosse Pointe, Holland, Royal Oak, Whitehall in Ann Arbor. There are resource fairs in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Traverse City. There are vigils in Marquette and in St. Joe's. In East Lansing and Ada, the community's gathering to express themselves through art projects from our state's largest cities to our smaller towns, from Metro Detroit to the UP. We are all uniting against gun violence. It's very exciting. I'm getting chills down my back just seeing how this coalition has come together of people who are rowing in the same direction to say, we don't want this anymore. Teachers, students, people of faith, people of all races and creeds, families of all types, we're all coming together and we're saying no more. We don't want to live in a world where gun violence is the norm. It's time for change, and looking out across this state where people are working together in such a profound way, I can say the change is coming, and we've seen it in the last year. We are going to see more and more of it as we move forward. The goal of these events, each in their own ways, is to celebrate the very real progress that we've made on this issue of gun violence in our state, and to call for more, because we are not there yet. We have passed important new laws in Lansing. Now we need to ensure that there are measures being taken that are saving lives in our community through implementation. You can find a full list of details for all the events on our website and in the release that we'll be sending out after this call. So today we're going to hear from our local organizers of 3 events in our state. First, I want to hand things over to the founder of Silence the Violence, my colleague, Pastor Barry Randolph of the Church of the Messiah. Barry, great to have you here. Take it away.
Chris, good morning, and thank you so much. My name is Barry Randolph, and I'm the priest and pastor of the Episcopal Church of the Messiah. We're located on the east side of Detroit in a community and neighborhood called Island View. We created Silence the Violence because we had 3 young people in our community who were tragically gunned down and murdered. And since that day, made a promise to their parents in this community that we would not just sit back and allow gun violence to take place and we do nothing about it. So Silence the Violence bring together people who are working to eradicate it, but we also honor the memory of the innocent victims of gun violence. So it is a march and it is a rally, and that's what we're going to be doing this month throughout the state of Michigan. So we started Silence the Violence to march to remember those who we lost, to give people space to grieve and hopefully to heal. But we found out that that was not enough because people kept dying. It's not enough to provide healing if we don't address the root causes of the wound. So we decided to organize and demand change in Lansing. That's why we became founding members of End Gun Violence Michigan, because gun violence It's not just this sad thing that just happened. It's not like the weather. We have gun violence because of laws and politics made in Lansing and in Washington, D.C. We have gun violence because some people, mostly those who make, manufacture, and sell guns, have decided that having money in their pocket is more important than burying children in the ground. So we prayed, we marched, and we voted, and we organized, and we demanded change. It took 17 years, but finally the change we prayed for, we marched for, and we voted for is here. Last year, the Michigan legislature passed the first new gun laws in 40 years. Guns are the #1 cause of death of children, and our new safe storage law will keep guns out of the hands of children. Universal background checks will keep guns out of the hands of those with severe mental illness or a violent criminal history. Extreme risk protection orders allows us to temporarily disarm individuals when they become a danger to themselves or other people before anyone gets hurt. Our stronger domestic violence laws will keep guns out of the hands of domestic abusers. All of this together is tremendous progress. We need to celebrate the fact that our elected officials are listening to us. But these are just the first step. We need to keep on marching towards the promised land where gun violence is a sad memory and not a terrifying present reality. So we call on Michiganders to join us, and we guarantee you there is an event near you. I especially encourage those in metropolitan Detroit to join us at Church of the Messiah Saturday, June 15th at 10 a.m., where we're going to host our Silence the Violence March and Rally. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand things over to my good friend, Haley Huggett. Haley?
Thank you, Pastor Barry. I'd like to share a bit about why I'm involved in this movement to begin. So I'm 17 years old and I'm currently finishing my junior year at Holland High School. I've been an advocate for gun safety for 3 years, largely because I can't imagine not being one. Many older people don't realize that we, young people, have been living with school shootings as an ever-present reality our whole lives. I'm sure most of you remember having fire drills and tornado drills at school, right? We still do those, but now we also have to do mass shooting drills, starting in kindergarten and first grade. Our teacher turns off all the lights and tells us to stay very quiet under our desks because a potential threat has been identified. In some schools, they even practice throwing their math books and rushing the gunman. I'm sure the older folks present today also remember being taught to stop, drop, and roll, right? Well, we're being taught to run, hide, and fight in case of a shooter. Students are learning how to survive a school shooting before they learn how to read. This is insane. And as a student, I refuse to live with this reality. I became an advocate for gun safety because I'm sick and tired of being afraid of being murdered at school, and I refuse to accept this as my reality. So in January of my freshman year, I lobbied at our state's capitol on behalf of March for Our Lives, and I met 2 students who survived the Oxford shooting. As these brave young people recounted their stories for our legislature, I couldn't help but sit there and think, that very easily could have been me killed that day, or I could have been the one that survived. In a situation like this, there are 2 ways to react. You can build a wall around yourself, get a bulletproof backpack, treat everyone with extreme suspicion, get really good at active shooter drills, turn your school into a fortress. That, to be honest, will feel more like a prison to the students inside than the safe space that our schools are supposed to be. You can try to protect yourself and only yourself, or you can reach out and try to fight for a better world for everyone. And that's exactly what I've learned from this movement, that I can never be safe until my classmates are safe too. And my classmates are never going to be safe unless Pastor Barry's congregation is safe. We're all in this together and we have to fight it together. That's why my community in Holland is a part of the movement, and that's why we've organized 2 events during the month of June. I want to not only educate my community of the importance of gun safety, but also I want to empower them to make safe choices with their firearms and in turn protect our community as a whole. On June 9th, Moms Demand Action is hosting the annual Wear Orange Holland event to promote gun safety. I'll be there representing End Gun Violence Michigan and running a table with information regarding the 4 new gun safety laws passed by our incredible legislature, as well as distributing free cable walks to the community. On June 27th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m., I'll be representing Keep Our Kids Safe West Michigan alongside my mom, who's a physician from Corewell Health in Hudsonville, at a teach-in event at the North Branch of Holland Public Library. This group is essentially a coalition of pastors, healthcare workers, students, teachers, and community members who all share one goal: keeping kids safe. At each of these events, we'll be providing a handout called A Parent's Guide to Firearm Injury Prevention, created by the University of Institute for Firearm Injury Prevention, as well as one-page handouts summarizing the 4 new common sense gun laws. Additionally, we'll be distributing free cable locks to any community member who wishes to safely lock their firearms. If you're in the area during either of these times, please show up and support our movement. I can't protect myself and my classmates alone, but together we can keep our community safe. Now I'm going to hand things off to another wonderful event organizer, Jeanette Robinson.
Janet, you're going to need to unmute your yourself and take it from the top.
Hello, I'm Janet Robinson. Thank you for introducing me. And I'm part of GUNS, Gaining Unity Through Nonviolent Solutions. We're Muskegon Heights based. We started back a reduced gun violence program back in 2018 under Chief Joseph Thomas. We partnered with the Muskegon Heights Police Department. We had one gun violence is too many. So we've been on a movement to get that. So we're joining Silence the Violence this year. On June 22nd, we're going to have an expungement clinic at the Lake Hawks Community Center in Muskegon Heights. We're going to start off giving people the second chance, because some things happen in life and you get a second chance. And the government has said that you deserve that. So we're going to have expungements from 11 to 3. After that, from 4 to 6:30, we're going to march from Lake Hawks Community Center down to Rowan Park, which is in downtown Muskegon Heights. We're inviting the church community, the faith-based, local agencies, and our community to come out. It's time to put a stop to the violence. Growing up in Muskegon Heights was great. We had so many support. It took a village. Teachers cared, community cared. No kid was left without. If one person ate, everybody ate. That's no longer the case now. We have kids that's facing things that we've never faced before in life. In shotguns, fires, kids are losing their friends at a nominal rate. And we need to step up and stop the violence. We need to do that in unity. So we can get together on June 22nd, come out, show your support, and say enough is enough. We have a lot of new laws in place. So on June 22nd at Rowan Park, we will be sharing that knowledge. We're providing gun lots. We have police chief saying there will be cooking hot dogs. We just want to come out, get together, unify, and say, hey, enough is enough. We want betterment for our children. We need our neighborhoods to be safe for our elders. We want to be in camaraderie together. We can do it. So we joined this movement that I think is a very important movement. And we ask you to come out and be part of that movement with us. And now I'll turn it over to my next colleague. Thank you.
Janet, thank you so much for those details, for your passion. Haley, for you as well. And Pastor Barry, thank you for all the incredible work you all are doing in your communities. Again, 30 events statewide. Sorry, we can't highlight every one of them on today's call, but we're so proud to shine that light on Detroit, Muskegon, Holland. We'll be sending out news releases with all these details for each event, and the information can also be found on our website, endgunviolencemichigan.org, endgunviolencemi.org. And I'd like to open up for any questions that people might have for us, for any of our presenters today. Hard to tell on Zoom who's formulating those questions and who's gone for a second cup of coffee. But we do want to be open and transparent about what we're doing, why we're doing it. We're really excited that we can get 30 plus events across. This is unprecedented across Michigan here, that we can get this many people rowing in the same direction. Really proud to be a part of this. we've seen these gun laws pass because people have said we have had enough, and we are going to take our feelings, our convictions to our legislators, and are going to see some real change happen. The vast majority of Americans are not happy with how we handle gun violence and gun safety in this country, and it's great to see so many people at a grassroots level moving forward this. I can see in the chat we've already got Ryan posting the list of stuff. If you all have any questions you want to put there, you're welcome to do so there. Steve Carmody, Steve, I listen to you all the time. Are there any specific new gun laws you'd like to see enacted now? Are there changes at the local level you'd like to see implemented? Barry, I'm going to open that one up to you and to Ryan, because Ryan has a really good pulse on our constituency here. Ryan, you're unmuted. Why don't you go first, and then Barry, why don't you take it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a number of proposals in the legislature that we'd like to see become law. Um, First of all, you shouldn't be able to open carry your firearm at a polling place. There's no reason to bring your gun to the election unless you're trying to intimidate people. So that's legislation that's moving. Secondly, there's legislation pending that will require schools to inform parents about the new safe storage law. And that can be done every year to make sure everyone knows how to protect their children. Third, I don't know if folks know this, but uh, the gun industry is the only industry in Michigan that has complete and total immunity from lawsuits and legal accountability. If my Chevy has a problem and hurts people, and the manufacturer has been negligent in the production of that product, I can take General Motors to court. And because of that threat, General Motors puts a lot of effort into ensuring safety for those vehicles. The gun industry has complete immunity. They can do whatever they want and flood communities intentionally with guns they know are going to kill children. And there's no recourse in the courts. So that needs to change. And lastly, um, I would point out to how guns are sold in our state. 90% of the guns used in crimes come from only 5% of the gun dealers. 90% of the guns used in crimes come from 5% of the gun dealers. That means there are gun dealers out there who know their guns are being used in crimes, who are that's their business model, is they're selling guns that they know are being used to hurt people. So we need better laws to hold those dealers accountable and make sure that they are doing background checks, not selling to straw purchasers, keeping proper records so that guns can be traced, and that those dealers are regularly inspected. So we can stop this practice of unscrupulous gun dealers profiting off of flooding primarily low-income communities with cheap firearms.
Okay,
Yeah, and
thank you very much, Ryan. You want to jump in, Barry?
yeah, I agree totally with what Ryan just said. Something else I'd like to add to that is we need to begin to educate our community on what these new laws mean, so that everybody understand this was passed. But what does this mean? What does this mean for gun owners when it comes to safe storage? What does it mean about extreme risk protection and protecting people who are the most vulnerable? And when it comes down to the issue of mental illness, and we need to have conversations with our law enforcement. We need to have conversations with our community to make sure that everybody understands what is the best, how best will we protect people when it comes down to these laws. So a lot of conversation and a lot of education will need to take place at this time.
That's right, Barry and Steve. One of the things we've been busy doing is getting in touch with police chiefs and other folks who are charged with putting these laws into implementation. And we've had meetings with them, and we've said, what are your policies about ERPO? And we've actually had one response, at least, from a police chief who said, "What's that?" So just because we pass them does not mean that we're enforcing them or the people are notified. And I don't blame that police chief so much because, we get so much information across our desk on a regular basis that it's difficult. So that's a big part of what
Yes.
we see as important also is not just looking at the new laws coming down the pike, but implementing and bringing awareness up. We've got a billboard campaign going on about locking guns being now the law. And we see time and time again, even now that these laws are passed, kids finding guns not locked up and tragedy ensuing. So just because we've got them passed doesn't mean the deal's done. Any other questions for folks here? Thanks, Steve, for that question. Well, fantastic, Ryan. I think that's just a way to say this is so well organized and so comprehensive that we've answered every question that every reporter has. But just in case we don't, you know how to get a hold of us through our website, and you got our email. And thank you so much for graciously turning out today and giving us your time to this very important issue. Ryan, you want to close us out?
I appreciate everyone's participation today and for your leadership, Reverend Yaw. There will be a press release that goes out later this morning with a copy of the recording. If folks want to make sure that they receive that release, you can throw your information in the chat and I will add you to our press list. Again, thanks very much, everybody, and we will close out today's call.
Thank you.